everyone. Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic 2022 was in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, Mr. Millennial over here, as we're going into the new year. And sitting over to my right is Mr. Gen X. We don't get along very often, but you know when we do, it's magical. How are you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking, and Happy New Year's to you and everybody out there.
Yeah, this is officially the first episode of 2023.
Yes.
2023. Yep. Does that sound weird?
In a way it does, but
right?
I think I'm just used to 22.
Yeah.
So much.
I don't know.
I'm sure when, like 2001, does that sound weird? Yeah, kind of whatever.
Yeah. It's kind of like, to me, it's more of a, I think back to the difference between like 1999, 1990s, the late 90s versus the 1920s. And I think of like how life was in the 1920s. Chris could tell us, but, how life and technology was in the 1920s compared to, when a lot of my growing up was, the late 90s and 2000s, to like now we're in the 2020s. And, how is life going to be different in like 2099 as we reach into the 2100s?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of like what my head does.
Yeah, you're all over the place right now. I get it. Yeah, so I just like, what's another 100 years? Like, what was it like, in 1923 compared to 2023?
Mm-hmm.
And what's it going to be like in 2123? Yeah, I don't know. Flying cars maybe by then? I don't know.
Better?
Yeah. I want a real hoverboard. That's what I want.
Yeah, a real hoverboard. Well, Amazon has officially launched their drone service in 2 cities.
Really?
Yes, drone deliveries in 2 cities now. And so they're kind of like testing it out in the cities to figure out exactly how it's all working and make sure all the bugs are worked out. But I'm just like, that's crazy.
A few episodes ago, I said I saw an autonomous car driving around San Francisco.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. It's just crazy to me to think about how rapidly society changes.
Right. Absolutely.
Another thing on the docket that I wanted to kind of chit chat about today, before we get into what we have planned for the topic, is the interesting weather system moving through California this week.
Yeah, we got bombarded with rain just after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And, here we are sitting on a Tuesday after Christmas. We're going to talk into your ear holes and on Monday after New Year's. Pretty much tomorrow throughout the rest of the week is a big storm coming through for us. Yeah. So that ZJ is gone.
Oh yeah, it's gone. It's going to be gone for a while, I think. But yeah, it's they're like some of the models that are coming through is talking about breaking the records that we broke last year.
Right. Yeah.
They're saying multiple atmospheric rivers are converging on the west coast of the United States, like last week and this week. Mm-hmm. And last week was kind of warmer storms. It was raining the whole time. Like they're talking snow level all this week is supposed to be down around 3,000 feet, 3,500 feet.
Wow.
With how much water is coming in as well. It's going to be, I think, an interesting week this week. So
yeah, I did hear on the news that people are getting ready for floods.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's sunny outside.
Yeah.
And then they showed the weather storm and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I forgot who it was. I think it was Mr. Green himself that posted a photo up in our
the group chat
of what the weather system's going to look like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a very, I think, accurate depiction of it. So
it was a bit phallic, but it was a little bit. I understood where he was going with that.
Yeah. That made me laugh pretty hard.
Yeah. So we have a fun episode for you guys today.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to do a recap of some of the top episodes that we enjoyed and the users or listeners enjoyed, not users. And but before that, we have a giveaway to talk about, and we have some presents to open.
Yeah, Absolutely. So we're going to pick the 2 winners for December's Present Showdown next week, I believe.
Maybe the week after.
Maybe. You think so?
Usually we get our notification from Patreon about the 5th. So it'd be pretty...
It's going to be close. It may be next week. It might be the week after. But we'll see how that turns out with the recording schedule. But so those 2 winners will be announced coming up soon. And in the meantime, we have some giveaway going on for January.
Yes, we do.
So
I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, this one's going to be really fun. Morphlate, we have some big product launches coming this year. I think I counted 6.
Wow.
In my head.
Awesome.
Yeah, I decided to kind of officially take the next step forward with Morphlate. So we're getting a bigger warehouse. We're going up from a 2,300 square foot warehouse to 9,200 square feet.
Wow.
So
congratulations.
It's going to be fun. We're going to play disc golf in the warehouse for a while until we fill it out. But we're going to have some big product launches planned for this year. And the first one is set for January here. If this is recording coming out on January 2nd, it should be live. It might be live sometime on January 2nd. But we are launching a single tire inflator.
Oh, cool. So what is that?
It is a lever actuated handheld unit. And the whole point of it, there's single tire inflators all over the market, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But not very many single tire inflators allow you to air up a tire while standing up.
Oh, okay.
The hoses are kind of too short. You almost have to stay squatting down the whole time.
Like I have that easy deflator from ARB, and from where you are pulling out the valve core to the gauge is 3 inches, 4 inches, about my normal length.
But yeah, right. So we wanted to do a single tire inflator for people that they don't want to deal with multi tires and all the hoses that come with it, but really for shops.
Oh,
so I've had a few shops reach out asking if we have anything for shop usage. And shops don't want to deal with multi-tire setups. They just want one tire. They've got, their massive 100-gallon compressed air tanks that powers the shops. And so they don't need multi-tires. They can push a ton of air off one tire at a time because they're using a lot of pressure, a lot of air volume stored up. So we developed a single tire inflator. And so what we're doing is we're making 2 versions of it. The trail version, which will have quick disconnect couplers on the inflator so that you can take the hoses off of it and store it away real easily.
Okay. Comes
with a bag, comes with a lead that's long enough to allow you to air up standing up. It has a bleeder valve on it and a digital gauge that's accurate down to that'll read down to 1 PSI and accurate 1% across its scale.
It'll read 1 PSI. It doesn't go to thousands or tens.
No, it's 1 to 150 1 to 150 PSI in tenths.
In tenths
increments.
Got it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And so
similar to what
we're using now, just in a slightly different form factor.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, we're making that super rugged casing on it. Plastic dipped handle to keep your hands from freezing on a metal handle if you're using it in the snow kind of thing. If you like your snow wheeling or cold weather wheeling, it's turned out pretty good. I've been really enjoying it. We've been getting a lot of good feedback from the shops that we've seeded some to for testing. And so that is launching January, beginning of January here. So
sweet.
And then the shop version is just going to be the inflator with the hose permanently attached. And no bag.
Okay.
So we're looking at the retail value of the shop one around $75. And then the retail value of the trail one about $120.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so the trail one also comes with a 15-foot hose to go from the inflator to your air source.
Oh, got it.
Yep.
I'm like, wow, somebody's really tall.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
the hose hold that over my head.
Yeah. The hose coming off of
off your compressor to the handle.
Correct.
Is 15 foot.
15 feet. And then the hose coming off of the inflator to your tire is 30 inches. So 2.5 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. And then everything packs away nice, neatly in a bag for the trail unit. And in the shop, it just kind of sits around in the shop, permanently attached to their air systems.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds really cool. Congratulations on another product release.
Yep.
I'm hoping to have a few here in first quarter myself.
Yep.
But the benefit of you talking about that is
we get to give some away for January for the giveaway.
Somebody out there. How many are we going to give away?
We're going to do 2 trails.
2 trail
Two
kits.
trail versions.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll have 2 winners for the month of January for a couple of trail kits. And it should be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure people will love that. And I want one for my shop.
Yeah,
so,
right. It's going to be a great setup for garages and shop spaces. I think it's going to be less used out on trails just because the Morphlate, the 4-tire systems work so much better on trails.
Sure. Yeah.
But in shop and garage settings, the single tire is going to be, I think, where it's going to shine. So
yeah, absolutely. I think also in regards to trails, we have a smaller compressor, so we're standing around a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And you don't want to use the 10.6 with the single tire.
No, you don't.
So that will just destroy or hurt the 10.6. So I think the your quads or the standard Morphlates are going to be trail use primarily.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see how there's a difference there.
Yep.
Cool. So all right, so two winners.
2 winners for
coming
January.
Up for January again. We'll have the 2 winners for December in a week or so, and I think in the next week or so, Tyler and I will try to get our gifts ready. So as soon as we get the winners, we can send those out.
Yep.
And then we need you guys out there to vote on which gift is going to be the best. So we know who's the better gift giver.
Yep.
We're going to need the recipients of those gifts to post it up though.
Yeah. I wonder if we can do something voting like what we did with the TTTTTs voting.
Probably.
So which I think you won almost all of them. So.
Yes, I did. I'm a better gift giver and I'm a better arguer.
Fair.
Cool. All right. Well, in the sake of time, shall we jump right into our presents?
Yeah, let's get into some gifts here. So, this one is for you.
It's so teeny.
It is teeny.
Oh, it's hefty though.
Okay. Story of my life.
Yours is still over there.
It's still over there in the big old box.
In the big old A-Rex box. But ooh, I like the feel of this. Hold on.
I think you're going to like that one. I had to reach out to our consultant about it.
Masterson's 10-year-old straight rye whiskey. Ooh, batch 16, bottle number. Ooh, this looks nice. I'm excited for this. Gambler, buffalo hunter, army scout, gunfighter, and newspaper man William Bat Masterson, Bats in quotes, his nickname, did it all and did it well. And it continues on from there. 10-year-old straight rye whiskey. Ooh, thank you, Tyler. I'm going to put some in my coffee.
There you go. Soon. So that one, what's cool about that is they do hand batching.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they batch their bottles by hand, and then the batch numbers on the bottom are handwritten.
Oh, that's sweet.
So they literally take every single bottle that they batch and handwrite the batch number that it came from and everything there on the bottom of the bottle.
Wow, somebody has good handwriting.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, they hire a calligrapher for
Maybe
this.
I'm going to save it, not put it in my coffee immediately. I want to try it straight first.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So you got a big old box here.
I do have a big old box. That's perfect. Nice. So we have is this one of the rough stuff ones?
Yes, it is.
Nice. So it's a set of 6-ton jack stands, 2 of them with the rough stuff wall mount jack stand holder, which is pretty funny because I got this exact setup from the in-laws too. So now I'm fully set on 6-ton jack stands.
Yeah.
I do need a couple more of the wall mounts though.
Well, I know where you can get some.
I do. Yep. I agree. For all my 4-ton jack stands.
Yeah.
So 2-ton and 3 tons.
I picked up a wall mount also when I was there. And even though I put it on my Christmas list, nobody got me one.
Aww.
So I'm going to want to go back and grab some more as well.
Yeah.
That's really nice, the setup.
It is.
And actually it's good. You didn't have any 6-ton before that, right?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Before Christmas. Yeah. So it's nice to have 4.
Totally.
So that you can literally hold the whole vehicle up
yeah,
off of the ground and pull the underneath the axles and pull the wheels off.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Well, congratulations on getting your full set.
I'm excited. The other thing, so I had to go by Harbor Freight yesterday for something, and I asked them about the off-road jack.
Yeah.
And they get each store, supposedly, this is what the manager told me, each store across the country gets 2 off-road jacks per shipment that they get in for the store.
And they're sold out immediately.
And they're not supposed to be taking contact lists or back orders for when they get the jacks in. You're supposed to go in and
hopefully you
just
find
get there.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing, so I was like, okay, cool. So when does your shipment come in?
Yeah, sure. Right.
And he goes, well, I can't tell you that because they've had people, not necessarily because of the off-road jacks, but they've had over 1,200 trucks broken into over the past like 6 months.
Wow. Just for
because people are figuring out the delivery schedules.
That's ridiculous.
And so they can't even give out delivery schedules anymore.
Wow.
But supposedly the store in Reno is taking back orders.
Oh.
And they're supposedly like 300 orders deep right now.
Interesting. I went in looking for one of those to possibly get or give to you as a present. And then I was like, it's like $300. That's a big present.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You're a good guy, Tyler, but
I'm not worth $300 to anybody but myself.
To you.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even get anything big from my significant other.
From or to?
From.
How did you giving gifts of items that were so high go that we discussed on a previous episode?
I don't. Let's just say I got almost everything for her on her wish list, and she didn't get a single thing from my wish list.
Got it.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I haven't brought it up yet. And I'm kind of like, do I even want to go down that road? Or because she even gave me shit. Like when her birthday was around, because her birthday's at the beginning of December, I got her one gift that was not on her wish list as like an extra gift because I thought it was clever and fun.
Right.
And she gave me shit for it. And she goes, you ventured from the list. Never venture from the list. That's why I give you one.
Okay. And she totally ventured from the list.
And 100% ventured from my list. So I'm kind of like...
I would bring that up personally.
But
I don't want to tell you to start the fire.
Exactly.
I would have been like, you told me not to venture for a list. But.
Yeah.
So I ordered a Mob Armor, what do they call their magnetic charging mount, dude? I forgot what the
Mobnetics, the charging one.
Thank you. Yeah. I ordered one of those for the assistant. Because she has this crappy phone mount in her car. It's just this little flat magnet that barely works and a very super thin thing, like piece of metal on her phone. And it doesn't she'll hit a speed bump and the thing falls off.
Oh, geez.
And another thing I really dislike is that I can't use my phone on it.
Yeah.
So I bought her my system, thanks to Mob Armor, and Christmas comes rolling around and I'm like, where is my Mobnetic?
Yeah.
I ordered one and I went back through my emails and through my bank statements and I guess I forgot to submit an order.
Hit the submit button. Oh no.
So I had to I went out and bought her a bottle of whiskey because we do like whiskey. And then I ordered the Mob Armor Mobnetic mount and her birthday's in January. So I'll give it to her then.
That works.
But I went into Total Wine and More. And I went and bought a bottle of Westward, which we had at our local drinking hole and we loved. And so they had a bottle at Total Wine and More. So I bought that. I bought my brother some sake, and then I bought some stocking stuffers, a little tiny airline bottles for the assistant. And when I was checked out and was walking out, I was like, my bill was like almost $200. I was like, wow, like Westward's not that much. And so I looked and he rung me up twice for Westward. And so I went back to him and I was like, hey, you rung me up twice for the Westward. And he's like, oh, okay, I can fix that for you. I'm like, or I could just go get another bottle. He's like, oh, you could do that too. Like,
nice.
Way to upsell, but I'll go get another bottle.
That's one strategy to do that,
right? So the assistant might get another bottle of Westward on her birthday.
That's funny. Yeah, I was sitting in a Bevmo and I had to call Jason from Wheeling Wine and Whiskey. And I was like, Dude, I don't know anything about whiskey. Like, what? Here's a bunch of options that are staring me in the face. Let's go through them. What are the benefits, negatives? What do you think about them? What are the, tasting notes? Do you think that Jimmy would like them? Blah, blah, blah. That's the one we came down to, was the Mastersons. So,
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'll have to give it a review.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. Thank you for the jack stands. I'm excited to have a full set of 6-ton jack stands now.
Oh, that's going to, it changes the game.
Yeah, for sure.
For lifted vehicles like ours.
Mm-hmm.
Though you're going to be putting bigger axle housings on the 4Runner soon. So maybe the 4 tons would still work.
I don't think so. The tube is going to be about the same, I think. But I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Man. So any other updates before we jump over to our main topic?
Kind of.
Okay. I have a small thing too.
Okay. So the one thing is I ended up finding, well, I didn't find it. MF Ryan found it on Facebook Marketplace. This dude was getting rid of about $1,500 worth of camping supplies.
Wow. Okay.
Never been used. Half of it wasn't even opened for he was trying to sell it for $800. And so it had been on the market. We saw that it was on the marketplace for almost a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I told Ryan, I was like, that's a lot of that's some good stuff there. It's not a it that I really need, but if I can get a screaming deal on it, I would go out and get it right now. And he goes, well, what do you think? I'm like, $500. I would go out and get it. So Ryan sent him a message and said, hey, would you take $500? And the dude said $550. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll be there tonight. So nice. I went and picked it up. One of the items I was really interested in was a Gazelle T4 with an annex.
You got a Gazelle T4 with an annex and other camping gear for $550?
Yes.
Wow.
I ended up getting 2 queen size mattresses that have the air pumps built in, and they're 1.5 feet tall off the ground. I got 2 of those, a barbecue, a 250 watt hour lithium ion battery pack, like a Jackery, but it's a Westinghouse.
Okay.
A toilet and a buddy heater.
Wow. And
a couple camping chairs, a rollout outdoor mat for just an area rug kind of thing for outdoor, for $550.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's screaming deal.
I opened up that T4 with the annex. It's the same size as 2 T4s.
Wow.
Which is
same height.
Fucking massive. Yes. Same height as a T4, but there's 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And the second one, and there's a divider wall in between them too that you can close.
The second one's mesh around it to keep bugs or stuff out.
It's completely, all the walls are completely mesh.
Wow.
And then they've got coverings for them for if it rains.
That's impressive.
I was like, what? So anyways, I opened it up the other day in my garage and it didn't fit in the garage. I had to open up the garage to fully extend the annex out.
Wow.
So anyways, that's on my, I now have that for summer camping in the 4Runner. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It definitely does not fit in the 4Runner, completely collapsed down, but it's not actually that much bigger collapsed down than a regular T4. It's the same length as a T4, but it's just bigger round now.
Sure.
So
more poles.
Yeah. More poles and more material there. So
right.
Anyways, that'll be fun to go camping with this year.
That'll be nice.
Next year, 2023 this year. Anyways, those are my updates.
You reminded me of one that happened to me here recently. There was a red OBS long bed camper shell on Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
Yeah. For $50.
So you're really going to, for $50?
$50.
Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah, out in Santa Rosa. And I messaged a guy and he never saw it. And I messaged him again and I go, hey, I'm a serious buyer. Is this still available? Is it, what's the deal? When can I meet you? And then I guess he saw it at some point, but then he responded, this got a lot of interest. I have a few people coming in a matter of hours. And I said, okay, I'm out in Sacramento. I would have to drive a little bit, but I'm willing to pay you up front
right now.
If those people don't buy it, I'll wait in line. But if those people don't buy it, I'll pay you immediately and come and grab it in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, okay, I'll let you know. And it's sold, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been looking for a camper shell for Clifford.
$50.
Yeah.
And color matched red too?
It looked damn similar. I don't know.
And you're really going to make Clifford the big red dog.
Right? I thought it would have been nice. I've been looking for white ones because I just think any other color would look funny if you're going to add a camper shell, unless it color matched or is white.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know. Like if you put a blue one on there, I just think it'd be weird.
Yeah.
I was bumming about that. But anyways, I wanted to quickly talk about our main topic today.
Yeah.
And nothing specific. I mean, but we do have 10 episodes that we're going to go across. Ones that we picked out that we enjoyed, and ones that had a lot of downloads. So we know that the listeners have enjoyed. But I thought it was kind of funny that we're doing this look back on the year on episode 360.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even make that connection.
I said that the other day to the assistant. She's like, oh, that's funny. It's like you're going back and around and doing a 360. I'm like, dang, girl, you're clever. So yeah, I thought that I just wanted to kind of point that out. I thought that was fun.
That is pretty clever. I like that. Now that's like even more. I'm looking forward to this episode now.
Yeah. And I got this idea from listening to the radio.
Oh.
Because the radio is doing all these, here's our year in review, the top 100 songs or whatever. I'm like, let's go back and do something like that and show some clips.
Yeah, so. Good Day does that too.
Oh, are they?
For their kind of their New Year's special.
Okay.
They go back and they sit all the anchors down.
Yeah.
And they go like, hey, what was your favorite kind of memory of this year? And they talk about it. And then they go back and show the video clip of that. So it's going to be kind of similar.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be fun and we'll do something similar. I think what we're going to do is we'll tell you the title of the episode, maybe a quick synopsis. And then I pulled out a bunch of 5-minute clips roughly from an episode. I think they range from like 3 to just barely over 5. And then we'll come back after that clip and we'll maybe talk about a highlight from the episode, and then we'll roll into introing the next clip. So
yeah, what's really fun, I think for me, is that what clips you chose. I don't know what clips you chose though yet. So we're gonna listen to them here live as well. And then if we have any comments to bring up afterwards about, I forgot about that one part or something like that.
Yeah.
We will be discussing it before we move on to the next clip as well. So.
Yeah. And I think the last thing to note is that we put these in release date order from oldest to newest.
Yeah.
We didn't want to rank them any one way or another. These just are the ones that released the furthest back are going to be our first ones, and up to the ones that were just released. Yeah.
If these kind of spark any fun memories for you guys too, it's kind of just another way for you guys to go back and remember, oh, that's right. That was a really fun episode 324. Maybe I want to go back and listen to that one over, the downtime in January or something. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's dive right in, shall we?
Sounds good. Do we do a main topic sound and then we'll start
we do need a main topic sound because we are officially starting something, I think, in January here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We better get on
that. All right. We'll be right on back. So hopefully we're going to be starting something new here, which will also be, I guess we'll talk about it at the end of the episode or in the next episode on Thursday. But I hope you guys enjoy it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the year, and hopefully enjoy it. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right on back. Today's campfire discussion.
When it comes to suspension systems, not only do we want it to flex over the rocks or go fast in the desert, but we want it to handle well on the road. 4-Wheel Underground has put in the time researching and testing to create a performance suspension system that handles well in every situation. If you're looking to level up your suspension game, make sure to check out 4-Wheel Underground.
Oh, welcome back, ladies and gentle ladies, to today's 360 review, year in review. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got essentially 10 topics pulled out here, ranging across multiple episodes. So like some of the topics have 4 episodes, we'll get down and talk about that a little bit. But the first one we're going to start off with. So all of these are going to be in oldest release date. So we're starting at episode 266. So what was that episode, Jimmy? What was episode 266 here that we liked so much?
Episode 266 was Consider These Things When Seeking for KOH or 4x4 sponsorships.
Yeah.
This was an episode we did with Steven Tyler just before King of the Hammers in January of 2022. And we were really talking about and discussing sponsorships or influencers and what companies are looking for and what they want like influencers to be doing. And it was a really interesting episode for me, primarily because I am an influencer, but I'm also a business.
Yes, you are.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're a business, and
somewhat. I've been moving out of the influencer realm lately, but
kind of. Yeah. But I mean, in regards to the podcast, we're in influencers.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So we kind of have our hands on both sides of the cookie jar. What Steven Tyler, from Power Tank are outstanding individuals. I'm happy they sat down with us, and I love their points of views on these topics. They've been in the business for forever, for a long time. And I really appreciated them being able to sit down and share their views on how sponsorships work for a business.
Yeah, I really liked it too. I thought it was really neat because we had, like you said, 3 different companies there, Power Tank, Morphlate, and Snail Armor.
Yeah.
With 2 influencers there as well, Jimmy and Tyler, talking about this whole big topic. And we're all kind of at different points in our businesses. Power Tank's been around forever. They're a very well-established company. The beginning of 2022, Morphlate was just getting the foothold in the market, in the niche where we're at, the multi-tire inflation deflation stuff. And Snail Armor was, had 3rd-gen Tacomas, maybe 2nd-gen Tundras at that time.
Yeah, I think I did. But it was, year 2 in the business, or maybe 3.
Yeah. And so getting to see the different viewpoints from experiences and where each company was all 3 at, I thought was really cool. That was the part I really enjoyed. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's roll the clip.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about a highlight or something afterwards.
Sounds good.
I think from the start, I think that what racers ought to do is the way they ought to think of this is it's a trade and it's an exchange. It's an even exchange. We're not giving them stuff for nothing. It's an exchange. Do they have something to offer us? And if they do, then we're more than happy to partner with them. It's all a partnership. That's what it is. They shouldn't look at it as, God, I really want some free stuff from these guys because I could really use their stuff. Okay, what can we give back? Do we have a brand? Or do we have, exposure that we can give that brand, their brand, with our brand? So Tyler knows much more about that. But in general, that's my take on it. It's an exchange. It's a trade.
It's a transaction still.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great, awesome starting point, because that's definitely something that I think a lot of people overlook, from maybe race teams, but especially influencers. People ought to understand.
Yeah, exactly. The same with influencers.
Yeah.
I mean, you know why we're laughing. We know these people that think they're influencers and they're not, and they think that they have something to exchange, but they don't yet. It takes a lot of time, energy, and money to get to the point where you're an influencer and you have something now to exchange with a brand.
It takes a lot of time is, I think, the biggest thing for influencers. Like, if you look at, I don't know if do you guys follow Kevin Jones, Ultra4 Jones?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That guy puts so much freaking time into his Instagramming and social media. Now he's starting a YouTube channel as well. I'm like, oh my God, this guy does a ton of stuff. And then there's other people, Mischief Maker JKU comes to mind as well. She puts so much freaking time into social media, and I'm just
right. Like, what a lot of people don't realize is, what I tell folks is, you might get a discount or free product, but what those brands expect in exchange, you'd be better off just working at your day job. With the amount of time that that we expect, you're going to put in way more hours, or we expect way more hours from you than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially once you consider a lot of people out there, a lot of race teams, especially in Ultra 4, a lot of race teams have other day jobs as well. And it's like, in order to get sponsorships, you really do need to have the time expenditure to be able to devote to giving back to that company. What can you offer? And a lot of times it's, well, I think this is a good question here. What are some of the things that companies are looking for that teams, race teams, influencers, people on social media, anybody out there can offer a company as what they're bringing to the table?
So typically one of the, probably the very first question I ask most race teams asking for a sponsorship is, do you have a dedicated media person on your team? That's not, oh yeah, my buddy, he helps us in the pits, but sometimes he takes pictures. No. If it's all hands on decks and you're doing a repair, that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's cool. That's what people, the people that follow the race team, the people that follow the products, I mean, they want to see the behind the scenes, the real, what it's like being a racer.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't have a dedicated guy just for holding a camera, that's the hardest time to get photos. Those
that is
photos.
True.
And we've seen it over and over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll tell us the great story after the fact. Oh God, man, what your power tank really saved us on this day. We were doing this, and then we used the power. Oh, you got any photos? Oh man, we were just so busy. There's no way we can pick up a camera. It's like, that would have been the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in that for sure.
Yeah, I really like the way that they think about how you need a dedicated media person, that they actually expect, they're giving you X amount of dollars in product and they expect X amount of hours in return, and it's a lot of things that influencers don't think about or race teams don't necessarily think about.
Yeah, 100%. I think that there's a lot to be said there that, with how prevalent influencers have become and how good photographers some influencers and videographers that some influencers have become. I think a lot of companies are starting to not put as much budget into their multimedia arms, right?
Yeah.
And they're almost using more of their influencers for that multimedia content.
100%. I think they might even be reducing the amount that they spend on marketing so they could hand out more product to influencers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that's a major part of Morflate's marketing strategy. So
same with Snail Armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed that was episode 266 with Steve Tyler from Power Tank talking about sponsorships. I'll put links to all these episodes down below in the video description or the podcast description. So you can click on those if you want to go listen to more.
Nice.
Yep.
Awesome. So the next one up is episode 271.
Yeah. The title was King of the Hammers Rescue Runner and Tour Guide Jimmy.
Nice. I'm excited to listen to this one. That one was, that was pretty much our personal recap of King of the Hammers and what our experience was. I know that we did a lot of KOH talk during January. And this particular episode was, what we did down there. So I know that for me, the highlights were making the runs up to Fisher by myself for the repeater and the radio stuff, and then getting to go run over and do aftershock recovery by myself. So, and then you were playing tour guide a lot and getting to show people Backdoor and Chocolate Thunder and all these fun things and see their reactions. So
yeah, exactly.
I remember that being a fun one. Yeah. All right, let's get into it here. Episode 271. And so we stopped about 3/4 of the way up and hiked the rest of the way up to, there's a big ass waterfall obstacle in Aftershock that is gnarly. It's a big waterfall.
Okay. And by waterfall, you mean like a cliff?
It's essentially a spot in the canyon where 20, 30 house-sized boulders have congregated and closed up the canyon right there, and you have to find a way through them.
Okay.
But luckily there was a bypass. And so we're kind of looking at it and we're like, well, if anybody's going to have issues, it's going to be here trying to come up the waterfall. Hopefully they will all take the bypass, but we're not allowed to tell them which way to go.
Okay.
We're not allowed to give them input on spotting or anything like that. They have to figure it out themselves. The racers do.
Yeah.
We're only allowed to jump in if there's a safety issue going on, like a rollover kind of thing, or a fire or something like that. Then we can jump in. But like if they're just kind of stuck and high centered, we're not allowed to give any direction. If they need help running their winch lines, then we can set up the winch anchor points, but we're not supposed to be hooking up their winch lines kind of thing.
Okay.
Unless they're kind of struggling and they're working at it, and they're just having a really hard time, and there's a congestion in the trail, and we need to keep the race moving as well. So we don't want backups in the canyons because then nobody's racing at that point, right?
Right.
So, and we're like, man, this is going to suck if people miss the bypass and come to the waterfall. And so we ended up setting up a couple of winch anchor points along the top half of the trail where we thought people might have issues. They might get high centered because they just don't have a lot of ground clearance with the golf carts. And so, and then we got back in the 4Runner, drove down to the bottom of the canyon, and then took a road up and around to the top of the canyon and came in and parked up at the top of the waterfall. So that if, we needed any winching up in that big boulder garden at the waterfall, we could do it using the 4Runner. And then hopefully everybody can use the anchor points we set up for the rest of the trail. And that's like a 1.5 mile long trail.
Wow. Okay.
Like a lot of the trails at Hammers are relatively short trails. And so I was like, man, to have somebody in Aftershock, just one rig by yourself to cover 1.5 miles of trail. Interesting. Okay. But it was fun. We had a good day. We set up anchor points at the correct spots, which was nice. So the side-by-sides were all using the anchor points if they needed them. Otherwise, only 2 rigs were tried the waterfall, and both of them, one of them got up in there and was like really going for it, and he ended up getting rolled over and like wedged in between some rocks and wadded up in the waterfall area. And I was like, oh man. And so we ended up setting up a snatch block off of an angled pole to get him turned over and all this other stuff, but like we couldn't reach him with the 4Runner. And so we all had to do it all with his winch and setting up. I think we had 2 or 3 anchor points set up and 2 or 3 snatch blocks.
Wow.
To get him out of his spot and rolled over. And after we got him out and rolled over, they were like, what the hell? Has everybody else made it up this? And I was like, no, everybody else has been taking the bypass. And he goes, there's a bypass? I was like, I'm not allowed to tell you this, but yes, it's right back there. And he kind of turned around and goes, fuck. And then they got turned around and went back to the bypass and got up and out. And then another rig came up, and you could see them kind of sitting there looking at the waterfall. And we were down at the corner down below because that's where the congestion was happening, because most of the rigs were just going up taking the bypass.
Okay.
And so we saw a rig go up, miss the bypass, and go up to the waterfall. And I'm like, okay, let me go up there and see what's going on, see if they're going to do it. And if they are, I'll call you up here because they're going to have issues. And so I go up there, and both the driver and co-driver are out of the rig, like walking the waterfall. And they're like, they just have this look of disbelief on their face. And they're like, I show up and they're like, everybody's winching up this, right? Like nobody's made it up this on their own power, right? And I said, everybody's taking the bypass. and they go, there's a bypass? Oh my God, thank you. And I was like, I'm not allowed to tell you where it is, but it's back that direction somewhere. So they were like, okay, thank you. So they jumped back in and got turned around and went and found the bypass. So those were the only 2 rigs the whole day. But there was a kid that came through, 13 years old, driving with his dad as the co-driver.
Wow.
And at that point, when he came through the corner where the congestion was happening, there was 2 rigs broken down, both of them blue CVs. Front driver CVs, actually. So they were both working on their rigs, and this 13-year-old kid comes up, and everybody stopped what they were doing and helped the 13-year-old kid get through the little corner there. And then after the kid made it, like everybody was like cheering him and going, fuck yeah, that is awesome. Like it was just really cool seeing the support that the racers were giving each other in that situation, that scenario.
That's cool.
That brought back some fun memories
of volunteering.
Of being in Aftershock during the golf cart race. Yeah. I think we rolled over 3 or 4 vehicles, 3 or 4 golf carts that day. And then that one rig just got wadded up in the waterfall. That was fun to get him undone, get him out of there. So,
I specifically chose this section because of volunteering.
Yeah.
And how important it is to volunteer down at King of the Hammers. And we would not be able to have this race without volunteers.
100%.
And so if you do enjoy King of the Hammers, you enjoy the event, you enjoy everything that happens, volunteer, I think, is the easiest thing to do to help the event, to continue the event moving forward, to do what you can to help out the off-roading community.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fun event. They do a big raffle for the volunteers. It's a good time. So yeah. Cool. So the next episodes that we have were from possibly my favorite month.
I could believe that.
Because it's April. It's Tyler's month.
Yeah.
And it was also welding month.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun in welding month. Getting to sit down. We got to sit down and talk with KARNAGE welder.
Yes.
John Allen, who kind of got to talk about stick welding and the premiere and everything else. So that Ian, Wheel Every Weekend, which was more kind of talking about like the trail fixes and some fun, clever things you can do with trail fixes and that he's done in the past. And we sat down with the Buns.
Correct. Yep.
So Chai and Sue from
Bun Trail Welder. Yeah. And these were episodes 286, 288, 290, and 292, all Monday episodes, all main topics for the month of April for welding month.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Let's listen to the clip that you chose. We have one clip from
4 episodes.
From 4 episodes, not one from each episode.
Correct.
Okay. I'm excited to hear which one you picked out here. Yeah, since you have such a huge experience of welding on the trails, if it came down to different styles of welders, like something like the Bun Trail Welder, Ready Welder, or something you're pulling the batteries on, versus say something like the KARNAGE, where it's all in one package, neat package, or a Premier that's kind of built into your vehicle, an under hood welder. I think we know what your choice is, but I want to know why. What would your choice be and why for those?
I guess as a disclaimer, there's no bad system out there. Beyond welding with a couple of car batteries wired into a little series circuit, which doesn't work real well. You get a couple rods out of it and that's about it. There's no bad system. They all have a plus and a minus.
Okay.
My personal opinion, the ability to stick weld gives you a lot broader range.
In terms of what? What bigger range?
Fix.
Okay.
Simple as that. You can do the chances of you bringing a gas bottle for your Ready Welder, because a Ready Welder, I own a Ready Welder. You can run a gas in 2 batteries, and you can do traditional short arc MIG. So it's a spool gun. So does that mean you could have a bottle of argon and you could run aluminum? Sure. Could you bring that same bottle and do stainless steel? Absolutely. Could you do steel? Absolutely. What is the chances you're going to have a little bottle, a regulator, and 5 spools of wire?
Yeah.
Probably 0. You can weld, and a lot of people don't realize this, you can weld aluminum with a stick welder.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, no, that's true. They do have aluminum rod.
They have aluminum rod. I have it in both my Jeeps.
Yeah.
And I don't do a lot of it, but in emergencies at work, we've done it quite a few times.
Okay.
Cars out on main line, a train car, it breaks down, it has an issue, we have to do some aluminum welding. I don't have a high freak TIG there.
The train breaks a couple of new axles. You got to get it back to camp. You just
we would use stick welders on the back of a high railed vehicle, glue it back together enough to get it into a shop.
Yeah,
that has happened not only to me, other places around. So I'm fairly confident you could probably glue a bell housing or something like that back together.
Maybe a bunch of some of those new aluminum links that are coming out and getting really popular out on the trails.
So that's 70-75 not weldable.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Didn't know that.
I would actually, one of these days, somebody's going to bend one and give it to me, and I'm going to prove it wrong. I ain't found an aluminum yet that I couldn't weld, but I want to try it, but I've been told you cannot weld them.
Interesting. Okay.
But I don't know the science behind it.
Okay.
So, but good point.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the stick. I think I carry 7 different rods.
Wow. Okay.
For the different repairs. And that's why I personally...
I was about to ask what are the differences of all the rods, but that's a whole nother episode. we can have you back on for a stick welding episode.
We could talk about the different rods all day long.
Yeah.
and why you choose it in the I guess you'd say the science behind it, the facts behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is one area where you can really go fast in. You can have it. That's the cool thing with a MIG or with a TIG and a stick welder is the amount of rods.
Yeah. It just comes down to what rods you want to carry at that point, rather than carrying.
Exactly.
If you're running a spool gun or a wire feed, you're having to carry at minimum 2 pounds of spool wire.
Yes.
With you everywhere.
Yes.
Whereas with stick, you can carry 7 different rods. You just carry 3 or 4 of each, and
I carry a little bit more than that, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The advantage to the spool guns is ease.
Mm-hmm.
It's MIG welding is the easiest welding to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I've taught a lot at the apprenticeship level at work. MIG welding is the easiest over TIG, over stick, some of the harder welds. So I see why people lean, into that. I have been in some, with the Premier, and it doesn't matter if you're running one of the spool guns off of it. I have been in a lot of situations where you've welded and had the unit running for a very long time. I don't want to say hours. I don't want to say 6 hours. I don't want to say anything like that. But it's ran for a very long time. I've had them hot. I was in the Rubicon once, and I burned every ounce of rod that I had.
That's a lot. You usually carry 5 to 10 pounds of rod at least.
I at that point I had 3 1-pounders.
Jeez.
And it's the reason I carry 5 because I borrowed. Fortunately for me, my dad was with me.
Okay.
And he had 1 pound of rod, and we finished up the job.
Wow.
We had a long weekend.
Yeah. Was that the time you rebuilt a frame there on the trail? Was that time, or is it?
No, that was actually the first big repair. No, this was a Toyota Land Cruiser that threw his steering box in the middle of Little Sluice, Big Sluice. This is 20 some years ago, probably in the late 90s. He knew he had a cracked frame, and he threw his entire Saginaw steering right on the trail. It wasn't stock Land Cruiser stuff.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful Land Cruiser, but it was a mess. And we welded on that thing all day. So that concerns me, with the batteries and whatnot. If I relied just on my spool gun, I would carry a second spool.
That was a fun one.
Yeah. That was a fun episode.
It was a really
I
fun
learned
episode.
a lot. And what I really liked about that episode was I learned that the amount of diversity that a stick welder has compared to the simplicity of a MIG welder.
Yep. 100%. It's a little bit more of a complex process to learn, but once you learn it, it's, in my opinion, way more applicable to off-roading than spool guns can be.
Yes.
And the main reason for it, you can MIG weld almost everything on a vehicle without too many issues. The big problem that I find with spool guns or MIG welding is the gun.
Why is that?
Because it's difficult to fit the gun into places that you need to weld sometimes.
Okay.
Underneath the vehicle and running, overhead or whatever you need to do. It can just be hard to fit the gun in there a lot of times. Whereas the big benefit with stick welding is it's just a stick sticking off of your clamp there.
Yeah.
Your electrode. And you can bend that if you need to get around stuff. Say that there's something in your way, you can bend the electrode, the stick.
Yeah.
To maneuver and now change up how you are packaging your welding equipment while you're welding. So that's in my opinion, the big benefit to stick welding for trail welding.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was amazing to have John on. That whole month was a lot of fun. We had a lot of outstanding guests that month, but John's such a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
That happy that we can share that with everybody. He was also on the Wheeling Wine and Whiskey episode with Greg from their premiere episode.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And so if you listen to that episode, which was 292, getting into stick welding with John, if you want to follow up on that one, if you also want to listen to John talk, blow people's minds, go listen to the one on Wheeling Wine and Whiskey's side. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. So yeah, those episodes for welding month were 286, 288, 290, and 292. A lot of fun in that month, and Tyler's month in April there this year. So
absolutely.
Next one on the to-do list of our 360 year in review is which one, Jimmy?
297. Tyler broke everything.
Not everything, just mostly everything.
almost everything. This is a good little recap of the chaos. How many hours were we out on the trail that day?
Extra 6 hours was added to our trail day.
An extra 6 hours on our trail on when we were doing the air quotes trifecta, poison spider, golden spike, and gold bar rim.
Yep.
So out in Cruise Moab on that event. So I don't think they're going to let Tyler go on that trail ever again.
I don't think they will either. I think I'm banned from that one, but it was fun to get it in while I did it. I'm hoping to have the new axle and suspension in before this year's Cruise Moab though.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. We'll see how
I'm hoping to have e-brakes on.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one. This is also the trail that we met Nicholas Caston on with his FJ80 whale on 40s. And because of that, I got to spend a couple extra days with Nick when he came down to the Rubicon later in the year.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So here's the clip from episode 297 when I made this beautiful art project over here to my left.
You're just in a hole.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have bigger tires than I do.
Yeah.
You're not quite as long. So maybe that helped out, but I don't know. And then, what was his Chuck?
Charlie.
Yeah. I was like, just give it a little goose.
You just need a little goose. That's all you need. And I was like, okay. So I tried once with the goose.
Yeah. You looked at me and I was like, do what you want, man.
Yeah. And so I tried a little bit of goose because at that point I was stuck on my rear bumper or shackle or something. And I couldn't get off of it. And so I was like, well, let's try a little goose to get off of it and I'll just stay in it to get up the wall and see how that feels.
Yeah.
And I did it once and it felt fine. But I felt like I could have gone harder. But it did feel like I had made progress up the wall. And if I did just a little bit more, I'd make it.
Yeah.
So I backed up and got position and then dropped it into, I think I was in low third gear.
Okay.
And then dropped the clutch and there was a loud ping. And then I moved forward and then there was another loud ping. And then there was a lot of tire rubbing on my fenders. And I was like, that didn't sound good.
Yep.
And then that's when you're like, oh, there goes your leaf springs. So what happened to my leaf springs, Jimmy?
You sheared all 4 of your leaf springs at the center pin.
The entire leaf pack.
The entire leaf pack sheared at the center pin.
Yep.
Never ever have I ever
do that, right? Never seen that happen before. I've seen people crack, main leaves or maybe a couple of supporter leaves. Something.
I've broken a supporter leaf and just had it dangling around for like a year.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
but never have I seen all 4 leaves shear off, break straight down to make 2 quarter leaves.
Yeah.
And that's what we should do. We should make it a 3/4 elliptical.
It could have done that. Yeah. Yeah, it was impressive. And so I'm like, well, all right, let's get out and do damage assessment. And so when you said I had broke the leaf springs, I was like, okay, let's just winch me out of here now and get me up here and we'll take the leaf spring pack off, weld it together, and we'll see if it holds to get off the trail. This was the last major obstacle. There's nothing hard after
this
here.
This is the very end of Golden Spike. We're just about to go on to gold rim bar rim. And gold bar rim is like a level 3.
Yeah, it's a
base. There's a few really climbs, nothing hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's winch me out of here. And you're like, no, you're not winching anywhere.
You're not going anywhere.
And I was like, what do you mean I'm not going anywhere? You're like, your leaf springs are sheared. They're gone. And I was like, well, yeah, but they're still like holding me to the vehicle, right? And you're like, no, they're not. And I was like, oh, that's a big problem.
Yeah. I looked under your vehicle and all I saw was the front half of your leaf springs lean down against the ground.
Yep.
You know, like not even connecting you.
No.
All your vehicle was fallen and sitting in your wheel well. And your tire was holding your body up.
My tire literally was holding the vehicle up. I had no suspension anymore.
Yeah.
And so we're like, all right, let's look into some damage assessment and get out and see how we're going to fix this. So getting out and looking at it, when they snapped the pinion on my third member, ripped into my gas tank too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't know how. I've taken a close look at the gas tank now. I don't know how it didn't rip a hole in the gas tank.
We are so lucky that didn't happen.
Yeah. That would have been bigger. I think that would have been a bigger issue than shearing the leaf springs.
Well, we could have got you gas, but I don't know if like you wouldn't have been able to hold gas. So we would have to pull a dead vehicle out.
Yeah.
Fix leaf springs and pull a dead vehicle out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're so lucky that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Or it didn't crack it or, whatever. It just scarred it, mangled it, dented it. Because your pinion. So pretty much what happened is it seems like hindsight, right? Your major hindsight is after looking at the leaf springs that had been broken, they were already somewhat cracked.
Yeah, there was 2 of the 4 leaf springs. The 2 in the center of the pack had major rust on the brake where it broke. But not all the way through. So like it had cracked on the top or in between them, maybe all the way through. But the outsides weren't cracked. The main leaf wasn't cracked, and I don't think the bottom leaf was cracked. No, it didn't seem like it. Yeah, there was no rust on those.
And so what happened is when you low third gear throttled it, you axle wrapped yourself so much that it sheared those leaf springs off and it threw your pinion straight up into the air and into your gas tank.
I agree. I think that's what happened as well.
Yeah. You know what's fun is looking across the room here. We're listening to this.
Yeah.
And we're both looking at the leaf pack.
Yeah.
Going like, yeah, that was a fun freaking day.
That was a fun day for multiple reasons too. I mean, just the brake itself was impressive to look at.
Yes.
B, figuring out and doing the diagnosis to figure out, why it broke and how it broke. That was fun. Figuring out how to get the broken leaf pack off of the vehicle without killing somebody. That was terrifying.
Yes. I don't know how many high lift jacks we had out there.
We had, I think 3 high lifts and 2 floor jacks. Holding up the whole vehicle and the winch off the front, keeping the vehicle from falling backwards, downwards, like supporting it I don't know. It was just, that was terrifying. To figuring out, okay, how do we get the vehicle out of its spot now and off the trail, to then spending like 2 hours welding on this leaf pack, putting it back together while you are dealing with your created brake issue from pulling your leaf pack off to having everybody there not really upset or pissed about the situation. Like
I was shocked about that.
I thought for sure everybody was going to be like, God, can we just go home, get off the trail and leave these guys and send somebody back for them or something? And no, like almost every single person there wanted to help in some way, shape or form.
Oh yeah. Everybody
crazy.
Reached out or like opened their, the truck beds or the rear hatch or whatever. And was like, either started to eat dinner or pulled something out to help.
Yep. Yeah.
It was fantastic. And kudos to Cruise Moab, the event, for their organization and communication. And I forgot what the trail lead's name was. I think it was Ken.
I don't remember now. I just remember he was in Jeep.
Yeah. Exactly. But he was in good communications with headquarters and with us and and everybody else. Literally walked around to everybody else and said, do you guys want to stay or do you want to go? We can organize another trail lead to come out here and grab you guys. And everybody said, no, they want to stay, which was shocking to me.
It was very shocking to me as well. Yeah.
I would have stayed for somebody else's break though.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but you're just a nice guy.
That's true. But yeah, that was a fun trip and a fun recap episode for sure.
Yeah, and Cruise Moab got to sit. All the trail leads got to sit around the fire the next night and talk about our story. So about these crazy guys, and then they learned that it's the same guys that rolled in Hell's Revenge the year before, the Hell's Gate. So yeah, we're getting a reputation now.
I know. It's bad.
All right, so next episode here. Is episode 310 and 312.
Yeah, 310 was off-road safety tips, and 312, which I took the clip from, is 4x4 off-road trail etiquette.
Yeah.
So these are two very important trail episodes to listen to, especially if you're new to off-roading. Even if you're old veteran to off-roading, these are, it's just a good reminder of a bunch of tips to have while you're out on the trail.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes, I think a lot of the stuff up until now, they were fun to do, fun to kind of reminisce. This is one of those informational episodes that I'm pretty proud of that we did.
Yeah.
There's some really, really good info here that can be applied to a lot of different levels of off-roading, but especially to new people coming into off-roading.
100%. So, we did a trail etiquette episode. Did we?
Super early on. It was like one of the first 10 episodes, I think.
Maybe it was. I'm trying to remember if we've ever... I think we looked back and tried to see if we did one, and we didn't. I only had a YouTube video. But I think we did an off-road safety tips or one or the other, vice versa. But yeah, way back in the beginning, we did one of these episodes, and we thought like, oh, we're 300 episodes since the last time we did this.
Yeah.
Let's revisit it. I think it was 310 off-road safety tips, and episode 10, we did off-road safety tips.
That would make sense. So cool. Let's listen to this clip is from the etiquette episode 312, right?
Yes.
Cool. Here we go. Let people know how many rigs are behind you, which is a really good one that I see a lot of JK owners not following.
I see
and JL owners.
I just see a lot of people on the trail not doing it. And we were out on the Rubicon this last week, and most of the time I spent time in the rear of the, I was a tail gunner or the caboose or whatever, and there was typically one person behind me, even though I was the one on the mic. I would roll up on the parties and be like, one more person behind me. They're like, oh, I think there's 3 in our party. I'm like, okay, there's one more behind me, just so you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and especially kind of in our group also, I don't think that was being communicated to the other drivers as well. I think the leader said, our leader, whoever is leading the group, said there's 9 people in our group, but I don't think anybody else throughout the group was saying 5 more behind me, 4 more back, 3 more back, 2 more, and then it got to me and I'm like, 1 more person behind me. And they're like, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I do think that it's just a level of communication that makes passing people a little easier.
Yeah.
And understanding of where people are, especially if you're spread out.
Yeah. I think definitely if you're spread out, in my opinion, it is, if you're in a big group, the leader and tail gunner should be in charge of that communication. For me, kind of, if I'm passing a big group, I don't want to have to stop and talk to every single rig about how many people are behind them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I just completely ignore all the middle rigs, because I don't want to talk to them about the 5 behind them and then the 4 behind them, then the 3 and then the 2. I'm like, the first person told me, and I know who the last person is. And so everybody else is in that group. So I'm cool. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Could it be as simple as holding the fingers out?
Yeah, I guess. I feel guilty if I'm going by and somebody's like holding fingers out, then I feel like I need to acknowledge that.
Yeah. You just wave back.
And that takes effort, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'll just smile and give them a nod and then keep going.
I don't know. I usually, if I'm in the middle of the pack, I hold out how many people are behind me. If there's 3 people behind me, I hold up 3 fingers, and I usually do it with my thumb out because it's different.
Yeah.
And so it makes them think.
Yeah.
2 is the worst. If there's 2 people behind you, then people think you're giving them a peace symbol, or they go, or is there 2 people back there? I don't know.
Most people are usually flipping me off. Does that mean there's always one person behind me? Okay, yeah, cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely communicating with how many people are in your group, how many people are behind you. I think that's a good one that a lot of people don't do. I usually, just because I'm usually out front, it seems like, I end up like waving at people and telling them to stop, like flagging them down and saying, hey, how many people are in your group? Is it just one, or do you got like 20 people back there that we can't see? And then I'll have that conversation with the leader in the group, and then I'll assume that the leader of that group has communication with their group somehow. And then I'll be like, okay, cool. I have that conversation. We both talked about it, and then let's go.
Yeah, I liked the way that we attacked Cadillac Hill, where we sent one rig forward to see if anybody was coming. I kind of think that'd be a neat way to attack any trail.
Yeah.
Where you send one rig 5 minutes ahead of you so that they can... It's easy for one rig to maneuver around other rigs, but if you have a group of 11, like we had, we had one rig up ahead, and he was saying there's 10 more rigs behind him. That then you figure out, do we need to pull off, or do they need to pull off?
Yeah,
and you can kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, I love doing that strategy, especially out on the Rubicon, because you're going to have traffic at some point, and there's some places on the trail where you just can't get traffic through. And if you end up getting oncoming traffic in that section of the trail, it's going to take 20 times longer than if everybody just stopped and hung out and waited for the traffic to get through and took turns. It's kind of like if anybody watches documentaries or whatever on Everest and going up the Hillary Step.
I don't know.
There's a massive traffic jam every single day on Everest. At the Hillary Step, because
those
people
are like
just
the last few steps before the summit.
It's like a 30-foot climb, and you can only get one person through at a time, and so you have to kind of set up traffic control there. And what people do is they'll send one person up to block all the traffic for everybody in their group, so that they can get their group up, and then let the rest of the people kind of figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I remember that strategy of going and blocking traffic.
Yeah.
Like that not being something I really, truly thought about as like an actual strategy until we did that episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was so many good etiquettes to go through. I've always been a fan of communication on the trail. And that's one of the reasons I chose this segment of the etiquette. But I mean, if you want to learn more about trail etiquette or trail safety, make sure to go check out 310 and 312.
Yep. I would like to point out that I think you picked a great clip because it started off immediately bashing JKs.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That was the second reason I chose that clip.
That's funny. Next one on the list here is episode 311 and 313. With kind of 281 thrown in there as well.
Yeah.
A little bit.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So 311 and 313 were recaps of our listener Rubicon run when we were sort of being tour guides for some tacos.
Yeah.
Down the Rubicon. But we had, we had Welds Taco reach out to us and say he wants to run the Rubicon in his third gen Tacoma.
Yep.
And he wanted us to help him get through the obstacles.
Yeah.
And then we kind of turned that into a small invite event for some friends of ours and other podcasters. And we kind of rolled with it. And so I think the very first episode, was it ever released on Cruising to Camp, or did we steal it?
I think we stole it.
Okay, we stole it, but Lee hosted the podcast.
Yeah.
And so that is 311. And then 313 was the second half of the trail with us. And I think I stole the clip out of the second half of 313.
Gotcha.
But if you enjoy these, go listen to 281 Snow Wheeling, which was our patron snow trip event where
you learned you can't hang out with Dylan.
Where I learned I shouldn't hang out with Dylan. Yes.
Yeah.
And
so
you probably learned you shouldn't hang out with me.
Right. Yeah. The listener runs for this year. They were a lot of fun. They were definitely a highlight for me through the year. So let's listen to a clip from, I think the Rubicon run.
Yep. This one's from the Rubicon.
There we go.
In a way, I feel like the route that got opened is easier than the squeeze side of things.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
I think the route that got opened is harder than the squeeze one. But then again, I'm on
The squeeze.
I'm on Toyota axles and can just kind of squeeze right through it without
Right.
doing anything.
Yeah. That's sort of my, I think that the squeeze side, it's a straight shot. Like you just go straight. You just have to try to be inside of now a wall of roots and a rock. Right. So if you can't fit, then you have to figure out a way to get through it.
Yeah.
Where the other way is you drop off the root lines and then you turn like almost 90 degrees to the passenger side around a rock, and then you drop off the rock and you're done. I don't feel it's all that more difficult.
Interesting. Maybe it was just the line Hussman took, because I didn't see what line you took through there. But watching Hussman in the buggy go through that, I mean, he got...
Yeah, Hussman took a more aggressive line.
Okay, because I was looking at it, I was like, I'm not going to make my 4Runner try and do that.
Everybody said that. Everybody's like, oh, I'm going to go that route now. And then everybody saw Hussman go through it. And Hussman went to the spot where they had the biggest drop off. He went to the spot where it his driver's side rear tire fell like 4 or 5 feet down to the ground.
Yeah.
No, I turned all the way around the rock and dropped off a ledge that was like 1.5 feet, 2 feet.
Gotcha. Okay. Because he kind of instead of turning, he kind of went straight through it.
Right.
And so one tire was 5 feet in the air, and the other tire was 5 feet down on the ground. I was like, I can't do that in the 4Runner.
Everybody else behind him was like, well, I'm not going to go that way now. I'm like, no, that way's easier.
Okay.
But I
never
to go
did
through it.
like stop and take a close look at that.
Yeah. I wanted to go through it because it was reopened and new, and it's like 2-3 people, 1 to 3 people. No, I think 1, 2, and I might have been third to go through that line, maybe second to go through that line.
I think you were second. I think James was third.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that was it.
So, but yeah, so that was interesting. Also by that, so we had Rob's Welds Taco in our group, and then Lee and some of these other rigs that care more about their body and body work than some of us, and they were going through the squeeze section, taking a little bit of time. And so Hustle Nuts, my buddy Dave, 4Runner Dave, and Jacob, he has the first gen, your old first gen. Should we assume that people have listened to episode 1 or part 1 of this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So you already know all the rigs.
Yep.
Kind of motored on ahead, and they were already down through Sawtooth, down through whatever that part is below Sawtooth.
Yeah, I want to know what that is.
I don't know what name. I thought that was Sawtooth.
Yeah.
And then there was the rocky section below that, and I think they were on the bridge, if not past the bridge, into Rubicon Springs by the time we were at... Yeah, they were already in Rubicon Springs by the time we were at that rocky...
The turn that we thought was Sawtooth.
Yeah, the rocky sort of ledge turn after Sawtooth before the rocky downhill to the bridge.
Yeah.
And they told us that there was 3 rigs coming at us that are pretty well equipped. And we said, okay, we'll hang out after this section before the rocky section. There's plenty of open space right here for us to all pull off on the side, and we'll be good. And wait for these rigs to come up. And then we waited for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it took a while for the rigs to get to us.
So if you couldn't catch that or didn't catch that, that was a recap of us going down through Big Sluice.
Yep. Yeah, I had forgotten until we just now listened to that our group was the first ones to go through after the tree was cleared.
Yeah,
the
because
Big Sluice tree was down.
Yeah, I almost kept the section of where there was the alert that went out on the inReach, and John Arns got in contact with us to go check on what's the caretaker's name?
I'm terrible with names. Don't ask me.
The caretaker was in Big Sluice and he sent out an alert that he needed help for something.
Yeah.
And John Arns reached out to us, and we were literally dropping into Big Sluice, and we were like, well, give us 5 minutes. We'll get down there and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, cool. And then, he was chopping the big tree, and apparently it was a false alarm alert that went out. So we stayed and we helped him move the rounds from the Big Sluice tree. And we pushed him off to the side of the trail. And then that opened that new route up, and we all went, a bunch of us went down the new route.
Yeah.
That, well, new old route.
Yeah. Freshly reopened route.
Freshly reopened route.
Yeah.
So Hustle Nuts was the first one to go down, and then I went down.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was a really fun trip. I was very impressed with the 3rd and 2nd gen tacos making it through the trail. They definitely had some spots where they just kept getting turtled.
Oh yeah.
But they made the best of it. They did a great job. I don't think they broke anything. It was just what was it? Rob's pinion guard kept coming loose.
Yeah, that's right.
Clanking around, yeah.
And he'd either hammer it or he would tighten something.
Something.
I forgot how he solved that.
And then shout out to Jacob for literally whenever somebody did have issues, he had the parts to fix it.
Oh my gosh, yes. That was funny.
That was
he
good.
Literally had every part in the back of your old 4Runner.
Mm-hmm. And then we also got to name Lee's Hill.
Yep, I almost played that clip too.
That was such a funny afternoon.
But that will come up in a later episode.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
anyways, that was episode 311, 313, and then the other listener run that year was 281.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the next one that we're going to play is episode 324, The Ultimate Test for Glue Tread.
This might be my highlight of the year. Like my number one,
I think so,
trip kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good toss up between that and Cruise Moab.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to do this testing with the owner and the other, Simon, the media guy, Andy, the owner, and it was just a phenomenal trip. It was really so much fun.
Yeah.
We saw the river otters.
The crabs, Ryan's
crabs. We had a phenomenal trip. We stabbed some tires. We proved a product that works. It was outstanding.
I got
and
a couple
lot
of
of fun.
Bitchin' videos out of it too.
Yes, 100%.
It was probably my highlight of the year. So, I think there's a lot of clip worthy sections of this episode. So I'm curious which ones you chose here.
If you think about it, it is kind of a ridiculous thing to do. So it makes sense. It makes sense that we were a little bit nervous.
Specifically puncture tires, patch them, and drive through some of the toughest terrain out there and see if things hold.
Well, and it's funny, we've done tons of testing on this, right? So even before it came out, we did a ton of testing, but that's in the shop and it's different. It's pretty low stakes. If it doesn't work, it's we'll have to put another patch on. You know what I mean? It's but then, so every time we do, I mean, we do stuff like this fairly regularly, not as hardcore as this. I mean, I think this is the apex of what you can do. But but I mean, even a couple weeks ago, I was just driving around on my dirt bike, waving people down and offering them $500 to let me slash their tires on the trail, which there's some good videos of. But even when we do that,
hey,
Jimmy's like,
I need some new tires.
We'll come back.
I got 4 tires right now. That's $2,000.
But even I've seen it work and it's worked for me and I've tested it. But even so, every time I'm just because I think it's just so ingrained in your mind, there's no way to fix a sidewall that it's just kind of stuck in there. Yeah. And it's so then you get nervous doing it. But then we come through when we were going through Soup Bowl and it's
oh my God,
and just sitting there just ripping this.
We'll get to that.
Sorry. No,
we'll talk about that. Yeah.
I won't talk too much more about it. But you see stuff like that, it's of course. I mean, this obviously this works. It's hard to get that through people. Even as the owner of the company, it's you're just conditioned to think that there's no way to repair it. Yeah. So you do get nervous.
You're very for the longest time, you've not been able to you have a sidewall problem.
Yeah.
Tire is garbage. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get out. You can use 500 plugs and you're still leaking air.
The best thing you can, or the furthest thing you can do is try and shove baling wire through it to stitch it together, pull together, and then just shove as many plugs as you can until it stops leaking high enough to get off the trail.
Right.
Yeah. And then glue tread comes around, right, and breaks the internet. And all of a sudden there's a solution to this problem.
Totally.
And now we're trying to help prove that it works.
Totally. Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm glad you... Actually, Simon, thank you for throwing him under the bus.
Thanks.
You were worried. You were worried, Tyler. And we should. And the Gladiator, Mr. Gladiator over here, Mr. Lazy Boy, actually sitting in a Lazy Boy here at Rubicon Springs, was worried. And we got to the trailhead, and you guys flew in on Sunday. Tyler picked everybody up on Sunday. You guys cruised up to the spillway at Loon Lake.
Yep.
And that was the beginning pretty much of the story of our glue tread episode right there that we were leading right into the start of the story. You picked everybody up. You went to the Rubicon Springs. You met some guy named Eric.
That dude was interesting.
Yeah. And then we went out on the trail from there. So that was a fun trip.
That was a lot of fun. And what made that recording so much better was that we were in the middle of the Springs, which we made it there kind of ahead of schedule from what we were planning on.
Yeah.
And made it into the Springs, and we were having some drinks and enjoying the afternoon and watching the sun go down. And it was just really cool to be able to just sit back and relax and have those fun conversations.
Absolutely.
There at Rubicon Springs. So.
Yeah. Out in the environment in the middle of doing the testing. It was a fantastic time.
Yeah.
For sure. That was episode 324.
Yeah. So next, coming up here, we're working our way through the year, episode 338.
Yes. Yeah. We got 3 more left, including this one, 338, which is vehicle recovery with Factor 55. We got to interview Justin and
Yes, we did.
while he was on a massive road trip.
Yep.
And, but, regardless of him cruising down the highway, he still dropped knowledge's bombs right and left. And we learned so much about vehicle recovery during that episode and why it's important to check out load ratings and where things are made and USA made companies that,
lot tracing. I didn't know anything about lot tracing before that episode too, which I thought was pretty damn cool if they do. Yeah.
So it was wonderful to have Justin on the podcast and for him to share the story of Factor 55.
100%. I really enjoyed this episode. This is another one that, it was enjoyable. And we got to learn that Justin is a phenomenal saxophone player in a ska band. Oh my God. But it was some really amazing information out there for people. So, episode 338 with Justin from Factor 55. Here we go.
We have Highway 55, which runs up through that corridor that, starts the lifeline of the highway system through the state of Idaho. And also kind of like a throw at where the name of the company Factor 55 came from. So when you go up Highway 55, you roll up, just when you're south of McCall, and there's a turnoff to go to this place to the Gold Fork Hot Springs, and that road is a dirt road, and that's how it is. You got the paved main 2-lane highway, and every offshoot off of that highway are dirt roads. And in the wintertime, it's like a foot deep, and you're lucky if they decide to plow that road or flatten the snow on that road. So there's constantly people that are sliding off and getting stuck all the time.
Okay.
So we turn down this road, and here's a kid in a Toyota, like a stock Toyota Tacoma, with his girlfriend who nosed in, slid off the side of the road, and boom, he was like up against this fence and off into the shoulder.
Okay.
And now here I am, knee deep in snow, airing the kid's tires down, which freaked him out. And then, you know what I mean? And rocking his truck back and forth with my son and his brother, trying to pop this guy up out of the snow. And then it dawned on me, if I would have had my Jeep, I would have had the winch. This would have been 5 minutes. I would have created social media content. It would have been a win-win all the way around, right?
Yeah.
And
do it for the gram, Justin.
Yeah, exactly. Well, dude, I was thinking this would have been 2015, 2016. Dawned on me that we needed to create something that was going to be the go bag. What is going to be hey, this is the essential equipment that you need to keep in your vehicle. And then that's where really that high-end line of recovery kits and the thought of that was born. Because here I was in my wife's Xterra thinking if she would have just had a kinetic rope, she would have just had a toe strap, she would have just had a couple of soft shackles or a couple of hard shackles, we would have been able to assist this kid instantly and we would have no problem and getting him extracted. And instantly I came back from that whole experience and was like, well, this is what we have to do. We have to put together these bundles of equipment and provide that info for the people that need to use it. So that's where now we have an entire line of full USA made recovery kits where every component, including the bag itself, is an American made product. And they're basic, and we named them after the mountain ranges and different places that we wheeling here in Idaho. And so the Hawaii kit, for instance, is the minimal amount of stuff. It's a bag, 30 foot by 2 ply toe strap, a soft shackle, a hard shackle, and one of our hit receiver shackle mounts. And it's the basic minimum amount of stuff that anybody should be using, that if you're taking your vehicle and it's leaving pavement, this is the stuff. This is the minimum stuff that you need to have in your vehicle.
I specifically wanted to share this clip because I like the fact that they make a bare bones kit, and then they have a bunch of other kits that work their way up to pretty much everything that they pretty much make.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any recovery gear in possibly your significant other's vehicles or your vehicle, your daily driver, these are a phenomenal things to have. This isn't necessary. There was so many knowledge bombs about recovery and static ropes and kinetic ropes. And when do you have cables and what's the difference between a bow shackle and a soft shackle and their what's it called? The RRP,
Yep.
their ring retention pulley. Is that
rope retention pulley.
And how to use snatch blocks in the Spanish Burton.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many knowledge bombs in that episode that I could have shared, but I really wanted to share this one because I like the fact that they found a need that was in the market. They fulfilled that need, and now you can get it in your daily driver today.
Yeah, one of the big takeaways for me on this episode was that winches are just another tool that helps you get through a trail.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't want to say I spanned more on the realm of, a winch is your last ditch resort. Like if all else fails, okay, then you can winch. But like he totally 100% changed my mind on all that. He goes, having a winch on your vehicle just means you have another tool at your disposal. You're not going to just go down a trail and be like, no, I'm going to do everything I can to never, ever turn on my lockers.
Right.
Like, no, you have lockers for a reason. You have a winch for a reason. Use it.
Sure.
Like, and that was kind of the big eye opener for me. And ever since then, I'm just like, I see somebody stuck in a situation. I'm like, dude, turn on your lockers. It's a tool. Use them. Hey, you're at a point now. You've tried your other tools. Let's just pull out the winch now. Like there's no point in you sitting here struggling for another hour.
Yeah.
Let's pull the winch out, get you through it. Use the tool you have.
Yeah. Right. That point that you're making right there, we actually discussed during the time when we were on the listener Rubicon run. And those people were stuck for like 3 hours in Little Sluice, trying to do everything they possibly could. When if they just would have pulled a winch line, they would have been out of there in half an hour with all 3 rigs through. Instead, we had to wait like 3 hours because somebody was stuck.
Yeah, because they were stuck and they refused
to pull a winch.
And all 3 rigs had winches.
Yeah.
They sat there instead and decided, oh, let's, try and stack rocks. Oh, let's jack the car up and stack rocks. Oh, let's push the car backwards and stack rocks. I was like, can you guys please just freaking winch already?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So that is a fantastic episode.
Great episode with Justin.
And I would highly advise anybody that is looking at a recovery gear or considering any recovery gear to go check out Factor 55 and go listen to this episode because it just really reinforces everything that they're doing and how important their lot tracing is and the load limits and everything
quality
that they show.
Gear in your recovery equipment.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, cool. Next episode, going right up the list here.
Yeah, 2 more left. We the next one is 344 Rubicon Trail obstacle names. This was a 2-part series. I think the first part we covered pretty much the Little Sluice. And then the second part was from Little Sluice all the way through out to Homa.
Yep. A lot of fun sitting down with John and Merlin. We did the first episode with them ever at the History of the Rubicon Trail. That was episode 220.
Yes.
And then just over a year later, we got to finally sit back down with them and go over some of the trail names of the obstacles, which, again, a ton of history And a lot of really cool information came out about the Rubicon Trail. And this is another one of those episodes I'm really proud that we did.
Oh,
that
100%.
we got to do.
I'm glad it's in the books. I'm glad people can go back and reference it and understand the history behind some of these things like Arnold's Rock or why they're called the sluices.
Wickender's
bypass, which everybody knows is Indian Trail, but really it was the Wickender's bypass. So there's so much history behind some of these names, and I'm glad we were able to share it with everybody.
100%. So here's episode 344, the Rubicon Trail obstacle names.
After you go over a few undulations, there's a camp to the right that's in the trees between the trail and the lake. And just out of that camp, there's a spot where there's a very hard climb to the left and an easier trail around the right. And the trail around the right now has a gabion, a wire cage filled with rocks, and it has a bunch of rock on top of it. So
this is the Smud Bypass?
That's the Smud Bypass.
Okay, and what we jokingly call Lee Hill.
And what you jokingly call Lee Hill.
Where our buddy Lee ran straight into the hill head first.
Okay. And so from there, it used to shoot out?
The trail used to go through the trees. Through the trees by where that camp is.
The camp area. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went through the trees and you went down by the edge of the lake and through the edge of the lake. And then we decided it was probably in the 70s, huh, Merlin?
I think so.
Yeah, in the 70s, they Smud. If you look at the Buck Island Dam, you can see the cold joint between the two cement lines where they raised the height of the concrete on the dam. And when they did that area flooded. And Merlin and I were talking earlier about how it was kind of treacherous. We were
trying to get a rig through there.
Yeah, we weren't in rigs nearly as capable as they are today. But anyway.
But the trail was underwater when the lake was up. You could see ahead, you could see where your trail came out of the water. And you had to go, if you're going eastbound, you had to travel with your left tires real close to the up bank. If you didn't pay attention, you drifted away from that bank a little bit, like 18 inches, your right tires would fall off the cliff. Not a cliff, the ledge.
Okay.
So you'd be high center there in the water.
Huh. So there were many people that at one time or another went, 6 inches to the right or 8 inches to the left of the line. And when you did, you would high center and you'd have to get out and wade through the water to pull your winch line. And there were no anchors. You had to figure it out.
They didn't have the foresight to realize that by building up the dam further, they're just going to put the trail underwater.
Well said.
They didn't care.
I guess not. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
They wanted more water.
Yeah, they were in the water business, not the jeeping business.
Yeah. Interesting.
So Don Spieler told me this. He's a should I call him old? He's an old Cal4 guy, still around, lives in Georgetown. Good man. He was in Cal4, maybe not from the beginning, but his dad was, I think, from the beginning, and he's been a Cal4 guy for many years. And he told me that the Forest Service didn't like people going through the water and threatened to close the trail. And Cal4 kind of jumped in and said, "Well, it's not our fault; it's Smud's."
Yeah.
And Cal4 and the forests and SMUD came to the cooperative agreement that SMUD would pay to reroute the trail.
Some of that mitigation stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't back then. It wasn't mitigation money. Okay. It was just, hey, you knuckleheads, you got to fix our trail. You screwed it up.
Okay.
So SMUD took the lead on that, I guess, or did the work to reroute it. So that super steep spot on the left for when I started wheeling the trail was the only trail.
Oh.
No, when I started wheeling a trail, we were in the water. But at some point in the early 80s, the Cal4 and SMUD did that bypass, and then the only trail was that steep section, rocky piece on the left. And over time, it got eroded and incised, and now people go around to the right, and that's the trail. And actually, both trails up here on the easement, and the county just improved 5 years ago, maybe.
The lower one.
Improve the lower one. Yeah.
I had to throw Lee Hill in there.
I was wondering, because I was trying to think, I'm having a game with myself. Which clip did Jimmy choose for these?
Okay.
And I thought for sure you were going to pick the one of Merlin helping people up Walker Hill with the topless girl in the Jeep.
I should have done that one. That would have been a good one.
But Lee Hill's another good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We call it Lee Hill because Lee decided to go full steam up that obstacle. Because I said something like, the easy way is to the right and the harder way is to the left. You should probably go the easy way. And he's like, nope. He just bombs up Lee Hill and runs right into a boulder.
He didn't climb.
He didn't climb. He literally ran, like just drove his axle straight into a boulder and bent his tie rod.
Drag link.
Oh, his drag link.
Yep.
In like 45 degrees or something crazy.
Yes.
And then fixed it at camp. And if you want to hear that story, make sure to go back and listen to which ones were
313 would be my guess.
Yeah, 311.
Okay.
That was in part 1.
Gotcha.
Because we were at camp when we recorded part 1. So 311 if you want to hear him talk about that story. But that clip was from episode 344 part 2, the second half of the Rubicon Trail obstacle names. But these entire episodes, both of 344 part 1 and part 2, were phenomenal. I mean, you can't, the history and just listening to Merlin's voice.
Right.
We
should put it on to soothe yourself at night and go to sleep.
We should just call Merlin up every once in a while to have him hear his voice.
Yeah. That is, I said it before going into the clip. I'm going to say it again. I think the Rubicon history episodes, so 220, 344, part 1 and 2, some of the episodes that I think the most proud of what we've done here on the podcast, being able to get that information out of those two guys' heads and down into a medium where it can live on forever. I think that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
One more to go.
One last one. This is another one that I'm really proud that we were able to bring an expert in and pick their brains and lay down some amazing information about a topic that we had been wanting to cover for a very long time, and it goes extremely well with what we talk about here on the podcast. This is another episode. It's kind of like leaning back to like 310 and 312 with the safety tips and etiquette. Some amazing information here for people to learn about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
I think that, we're alluding to episode 348, suspension talk you always wanted with 4-Wheel Underground. Just talking with Brian and understanding the knowledge that this guy has and how he designs suspension for off-road vehicles and turns them into kits that you can just easily install on your rig is outstanding. And I think the clip, if I remember, the clip I chose is covering pretty much that topic.
Nice. Very cool. So here we go. Brian with 4-Wheel Underground from episode 348.
Doesn't sound. It sounds like you're actually relieving the stress on the axle, but you're probably losing control of where that axle is.
Well, and that's a lot of people's gripe about a 3-link is they think it's less stable. It's not necessarily. It depends on how you build it. There's a lot of variables there, and I think a lot of it is spring and shock, and mostly shock. A lot of people think that they buy coilovers, they can just throw it on the vehicle and go bomb through the desert, and that's not the case. You've got to tune those things.
Sure,
you get a lot more out of your vehicle when you don't just allow it to be a slinky and a sloppy jalopy.
Right. So what you're saying is that if you have two of the same vehicles have the same suspension, but they have tuned shocks, or one of them has a tuned shock and one of them has like factory shocks, you're going to get the better performance out of the tuned shock.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
By far. Yeah. If you just go in with off the shelf coilovers that have like a 10 stack on the compression and a 15 stack on the rebound, and then you put that up against one where the coilovers were actually tuned by somebody who knows what they're doing, it's like two different trucks.
Right.
Completely different.
Interesting. So that's good to know. So it's not all about the link setup.
It is not. No.
You're relying to some extent on the coils,
right?
The coilovers, shock setup.
The system is definitely improved when you start eliminating stuff like roll steer and bump steer from the equation. But if you still allow the shock to not do its job and you have all that movement, you will still notice there is what I'll call negative driver feedback.
Yeah. And I think one of the major differences between the 3-link and the 4-link is the way that the axle I want to say rotates.
Swings.
Thank you. So with the 3-link, you get a lateral movement of the axle.
Under what scenario of droop?
I would say full droop.
Articulated or double?
Full droop would be double.
Full droop is double.
Okay. I'm like,
so
where are we going with this?
Well, you do. Okay, so it's interesting.
So because of the panhard bar,
right?
It swings one way.
It has lateral
whatever
movement.
way the panhard bar is going.
Right. Yes, it does.
Where
yes, it does.
A 4-link does not allow for that.
That is true under the assumption that it is both sides drooping at the same time.
So does a
if you're talking articulated, then they both swing laterally based off of the height of the roll center from the axle. You have to think of the roll center to the axle as a pendulum. So if the roll center is high, the pendulum is longer and the swing is greater.
Interesting.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole.
This is why we're talking to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
What is roll center real quick?
So
since we're talking about
roll center is essentially defined as the point around the suspension that the body rotates, or you can go the opposite way and say it's the point around the suspension that the axle rotates. Doesn't matter because it's kind of little bit of the same.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Depending on your perspective and what you're talking about.
I mean, because the body is just north above,
right.
and the
traditionally it's referred to as the body rotating around the suspension in that point in space. But there's lots of scenarios based off of so the roll center on a 4-link, provided the upper links are doing most of the triangulating, doesn't really change relation to the axle ever.
Okay.
But it will on a suspension with a panhard, because the middle of the panhard will move half as much as the axle.
Okay.
So it'll change.
Yeah.
But during articulation, because of the pendulum effect, a 4-link is still going to have the pendulum effect during articulation. It's only when both sides compress or droop that it won't have lateral movement.
So while you're out rock crawling, you're still getting a little bit of this rotational movement.
Yeah, you still get that pendulum.
But it's not as vast as a 3-link, right?
No, that's not true.
Really?
No, not in articulation. No, that's not true. And most of the problems, or most of the things I've seen from people griping about a panhard have been the fact that they've made the panhard too short and at too steep of an angle at ride height.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you start off at a 25-degree panhard that's 29 inches long, and your shock has 4 inches of up and 12 inches of down, then it's going to swing laterally a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you take a scenario where you've got, instead of 4 inches of up and 12 inches of down, take 6 inches up, 10 inches down. Instead of a 29-inch bar, use a 36-inch bar. And instead of it being at a 25-degree angle, you're using 0. Now, when it drops 10 inches, instead of having 2 inches of movement to the side, it's only moved a half inch. Suddenly, the panhard's not the issue. So there's definitely how you build it is making a difference there.
You're right. Such a friggin' knowledge bomb back and forth on that entire episode.
Yes, it
was like, oh, so everything I've said in this episode is incorrect. Okay. I got corrected almost the entire time.
Yeah, we both did. It was super cool having Brian on from 4-Wheel Underground and getting to talk about all of that and learning about roll center and anti-squat, anti-dive, all these different things that suspensions do and how you kind of measure out a suspension was pretty freaking cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which I don't know, maybe that's a good transition to talk about what we're doing now this year with Brian.
Yeah.
Or do we want to wait until Thursday to do that?
Let's do a quick overview, I guess, especially if we start adding stuff into this podcast, which we don't know if it'll happen in time.
Yeah. So essentially, after sitting down and having Brian over at the studio for that episode, Jimmy and I were both like, we want linked kits now. After talking with Brian about that episode and learning kind of the benefits of linked suspensions, both Jimmy and I were like, we're going links now. That was like the solidifier. Like before then we were like, yeah, we we kind of want to go links, but we're kind of just doing it because we don't want to do leaf springs anymore. We want something different.
Yeah. And on my end, I was kind of like, yeah, I want to do links, a 3-link on Samantha, but I think I might want to do DIY. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And after talking with Brian and discussing things with him, it just makes so much more sense for my first ever 3-link or link setup to be a kit.
100%.
Right. And there's no better kit out there than a 4-wheel underground 3-link kit
for the older generation Toyotas. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think there might be other kits out there, but they're not put together in a kit specifically set up for your vehicle.
No.
And so, yeah, from talking with Brian, we were like, hey dude, we want to link our vehicles. What do you think we should be doing? What are tips and advice? And, one thing led to another, and we're going to be now, doing kind of a year-long fun with Brian and 4-Wheel Underground here with the podcast and mixing in some YouTube and social media stuff as well, where, we are purchasing some kits for our vehicles.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about this year how that all goes, what our experience is like working with Brian at 4-Wheel Underground on these kits. And rumor has it, he has also some big plans coming out this year that hopefully we can also fill you guys in on that I think are going to be really big for a lot of our listeners.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think that, this agreement and partnership between us, is going to be fantastic. You're going to be hearing him on the podcast a few more times. I think we're going to have him back on for other appearances. And when he starts doing some releases of the new products that he's got coming out, we're going to have him back on. We're getting kits from him, so we're going to probably have him on to discuss what we have, what we've got going, how to do whatever the hell we're doing. And just moving forward. So, after the podcast and sitting down with Brian, it changed the future of the podcast and our builds.
Yeah, for sure. So what do people have to look forward to for 2023 coming up here in terms of Kermit and Samantha and Bobcat and our rigs and kind of what we're doing here?
Oh man. I can't, Kermit, I'll let you speak to Kermit. Bobcat is just pretty much on hold. It's going to get some slight upgrades and a lot of maintenance. I've said many times, in the past few weeks, is that I have a house to redo.
That's right. Yeah.
And after talking to the assistant, I think that our game plan is to move in near summertime so that since she's a teacher, she doesn't have to worry about packing a house and moving during her teachings. While she's working. Yeah. So I've got until April or so to get the house done, maybe a little bit later, and then we can slowly start moving some things in. But it isn't until that time then that I'm really going to be able to work on a vehicle.
Yeah.
So for Bobcat, it's only going to be maintenance. I'm going to try to get some maintenance done before Winter Fun Fest and get a few things added on to Bobcat before we do Cruise Moab. And then Samantha is going to be in the second half of the year. I'm going to start working on it, but I'm not sure if and when I'm going to start releasing videos about Samantha. I might try to get everything finished before I actually release a series.
And then do a release schedule for them all. Yeah. So what are you planning for Samantha with 4-Wheel Underground here?
Okay. Yeah. So Samantha's going to get the 3-link kit up front.
Okay.
Which means I have to remove the truss that I added on or at least section part of it out. And I'm going to do the 4-link kit in the rear.
The double triangulated or
trailing arms.
Ooh,
I'm going to do trailing arm 4-link rear kit with the shocks and setup going up into the bed.
Okay.
And building something out in the bed there.
Nice.
For that setup, primarily because I wanted to keep the gas tank underneath the bed.
Okay.
And I'm going to use an older Ford gas tank which is more of a pancake style, and it fits between the frame rails, and I can set that behind the axle. So move it farther back a little ways and out of the way of all the linkage and everything that needs to happen. So that's the game plan right now.
Nice.
I also have to remove the truss that I put on the rear axle to work on the truss that goes with the 4-link kit. So
Gotcha.
I've got a little bit of work ahead of me of undoing things that I've already sort of set up.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for it.
That's cool. What are your coilovers going to be front and rear? How many inch?
So I'm
travel
going to
you going
use
for?
the Rock Crawler series, which is an older series from Bilstein. They are pretty much our equivalent to the 9200s that are being released today. And I'm using a 14-inch coilover in the front and 12-inch on the trailing arms in the rear.
Gotcha. Nice. That's going to be really cool to see come together. I think it's going to be really neat because I'm doing on Kermit the 3-link in the front for the 2nd gen 4Runner, and I'm doing a 3-link in the rear.
Yeah.
But what's in that way I don't have to move my gas tank, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so what's going to be interesting about the rear 3-link suspension setup is that Brian just launched an under cab coilover mounting setup for the 4Runners and the 3-link setup.
Yeah.
So you can install coilovers with a linked suspension under 4Runners and pickups without having to cut up into the cab, the cargo area, or the bed of your truck. So I think that's going to be really neat to get on and kind of talk about and see how all the packaging goes.
Right.
And then also one thing that I'm doing with Kermit is that I'll be running, I think, 12-inch coilovers in the rear and then 14s in the front. But I'm going to start off, I'm going to build the suspension for the 14-inch coilovers that Brian provides tuned, which is another really cool service that he does.
Yeah. The rad flow shocks that he has tuned.
But I'm going to start off with the Fox 2.0 14-inch coilovers that I have that are completely untuned for my vehicle. And so that way we can get a kind of a side-by-side comparison of running untuned coilovers versus getting coilovers that are tuned for the suspension and your vehicle straight from Brian.
Correct.
With your link setup.
Yeah. And it's going to be fun to see the ride quality difference, the articulation differences. I think we'll have to come up with a whole list of things that we can try to compare them against, maybe even like how fast you're allowed to corner.
Yeah.
Right. Driving on the road.
Yeah.
And just get a better understanding of handling or off-road handling, and a mix of that, because Kermit is meant to be a daily driver to some extent, an on-the-road vehicle.
Yep.
And it's, and Brian provides this service of, tuned coils to help make that happen.
Yeah. 100%. So that was a big thing that I wanted to work into the suspension for Kermit. And then obviously Kermit's getting the big axles that we had talked about in the past. So my goal for Kermit is to have him taken down right after KOH. Hopefully we have the coilovers in by then. And then I'm guessing he's going to be down about a month and a half.
Okay.
So he should be up by April, which would mean Cruise Moab kind of near the end of April might be the first rock crawling trip that Kermit goes on.
Okay.
So, and that'll also mean kind of you might be closing down, working on the house, and then you'll get to start your suspension while I'm kind of dialing in Kermit's suspension.
Right.
So it'll be really fun to kind of talk about this whole progress from how does the ordering process go with Brian to how does the install process go on the kits, to what are first initial impressions of it all versus, how are they playing out, and then getting into yours and kind of repeating that process on a different platform for the vehicle.
Right. And shock tuned versus non.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really cool. A really cool plan for the year. So hopefully you guys enjoy kind of this plan that we've concocted with Brian here. And I think it's going to be a really fun year for 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we are working with Brian, and we are working on advertising side of things with Brian as well. So you will be hearing some ads in the future for at least this year. Who knows what's going to happen next year, but that's the game plan, is working with Brian for 1 year of ads. So just bear in and, understand that that's happening, and that's how we're working things out. So appreciate you listening to those and hearing about them and listening to Four Wheel Underground. And if you do have a rig that you are considering going from leaf springs to a link kit, make sure to check out Four Wheel Underground.
Yeah, for sure. The ads are, it's ads, but they're super relevant to what we do here on the podcast and what you guys are expecting to listen to on the podcast. So that is the thing that we are 100% making sure that we keep across the board. So I think you guys are going to enjoy them. We have some fun ideas for how we're going to do the ads. It's not just going to be boring, plain Jane stuff like you might see on a lot of TV commercial stuff. It's going to be really fun, I think, the way we have it set up. So I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I know that we're going to enjoy it, and it's going to be a fun year. And I loved almost all of 2022, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens here with 2023, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed the episode. A little recap for 360. Do a little spin in your car. Or if you're standing up, do a 360 for yourself.
Chinese fire drill.
Yeah, exactly. It's been definitely a fun year. I'm looking forward to 2023. If you want to get a hold of us and ask us more about any of these episodes or future plans, you can. You can email us, Jimmy or Tyler, at snailtrail4x4.com. You can find Tyler on Instagram, 4x4 Toyota Tyler. I'm over at Snail Trail 4x4, or you can call in and leave us a message. We didn't hear back from Donnie, did we?
No, we didn't.
Oh, shocking. Maybe by Thursday he'll call back in, and we'll get back to you guys then. But if you want to call in, you can call 916-345-4744.
I like it, man. So I guess without further ado, to wrap up 2022 and get into 2023 here, Jimmy, what's your final words of the year?
Experiment.
And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Is this a Christmas or a New Year's joke?
Yes.
Oh, look at you go.
Yeah. What do New Year's parades have in common with Santa Claus?
I don't know.
Nobody's ever awake to see them.
I don't get it. A New Year's parade?
Yeah, it's in the morning on New Year's Day.
Oh.
Who the hell wakes up for that?
I was going to say, I don't know if I've ever watched a New Year's parade or ever heard about a New
probably
Year's parade.
Still sleeping, aren't you?
Probably. That's probably why. That's funny.